Love in Excess, or The Fatal Inquiry. Written by Eliza Haywood, and first published in 1719. This is a book preview, using selected quotes from the novel. Count Delmont knew the power he had over her too well to be much discouraged at what he read, and after a little consultation with Arneret, they concluded he should go to speak to her, as being the best solicitor in his own cause. As he came down the walk, Amena saw him through the glass, and the sight of that beloved object, bringing 1,000 past endearments to her memory, made her incapable of retiring from the window, and she remained in a languishing and immovable posture, leaning her head against the shutter, till he drew near enough to discern she saw him. She retained so much of her former resolution as to conjure him to be gone and not expose her to such hazards, that if her father should come to know she held any clandestine correspondence with him, after the commands he had given her, she were utterly undone. Delmont, though he was a little startled to find her so much more mistress of her temper than he believed she could be, yet resolved to make all possible use of this opportunity, which probably might be the last he should ever have, looked on her as she spoke, with eyes so piercing, so sparkling with desire, accompanied with so bewitching softness, as might have thawed the most frozen reservedness, and on the melting soul stamped love's impression. "Why, my life, my angel," said he, "my everlasting treasure of my soul, should these objections now be raised? How can you say, you have given me your heart? Dare you not trust your person with me a few hours? What have you to fear from your adoring slave? I want but to convince you how much I am so, by 1,000 yet uninvented vows." "They may be spared," cried Amena, hastily interrupting him. "One declaration to my father is all the proof that he or I demands of your sincerity." "Thou inhuman and tyrannic charmer," answered he, seizing her hand and eagerly kissing it, "I doubt not but your faithful Arneret has told you that I could not without the highest imprudence presently discover the passion I have for you to the world. Besides, consider, my angel, how much more hazardous it is for you to hold discourse with me here than at a farther distance from your father." With these and the like arguments she was at last overcome, and with the assistance of Arneret, he easily lifted her down. But this rash action, so contrary to the resolution she thought herself a few moments before so fixed in, made such a confusion in her mind, as rendered her insensible for some time of all he said to her. They made what haste they could into the Tuileries, and Delmont, having placed her on one of the most pleasant seats, was resolved to lose no time. And having given her some reasons for his not addressing to her father, which though weak in themselves, were easily believed by a heart so willing to be deceived as hers, he began to press for a greater confirmation of her affection than words. And 'twas now Amena found herself in the greatest strait she had ever yet been in. All nature seemed to favor his design, the pleasantness of the place, the silence of the night, the sweetness of the air, perfumed with 1,000 various odors, wafted by gentle breezes from adjacent gardens, completed the most delightful scene that ever was, to offer up a sacrifice to love. What now could poor Amena do, surrounded with so many powers, attacked by such a charming force without, betrayed by tenderness within? Virtue and pride, the guardians of her honor, fled from her breast, and left her to her foe. Only a modest bashfulness remained, which for a time made some defense, but with such weakness as a lover less impatient than Delmont would have little regarded. Her spirits all dissolved, sunk in a lethargy of love. Her snowy arms, unknowing, grasped his neck, her lips met his halfway and trembled at the touch. In fine, there was but a moment between her and ruin, when the tread of somebody coming hastily down the walk obliged the half-blessed pair to put a stop to farther endearments. It was Honorette, who, having been left sentinel in the garden, in order to open the door when her lady should return, had seen lights in every room in the house, and heard great confusion, so ran immediately to give them notice of this misfortune. Amena's thoughts were wholly taken up with her approaching shame, and vowed she would rather die than ever come into her father's presence, if it were true that she was missed. Delmont asked her several times if she would not command him to wait on her to some place where she might remain free from censure, till she heard from her father, but could get no answer but upbraidings from her. So, making a virtue of necessity, he was obliged to take her in his arms, with a design to bring her, though much against his inclinations, to his own apartment. As he was going through a very fair street, which led to that in which he lived, Amena cried out, with a sort of joy, "Loose me, my lord, I see a light in yonder house. The lady of it is my dearest friend, she has power with my father, and if I beg her protection, I doubt not but she will afford it me, and perhaps find some way to mitigate my misfortunes." The Count was overjoyed to be eased of his fair burthen, and setting her down at the gate, was preparing to take his leave with an indifference which was but too visible to the afflicted lady. Alovisa, for it was her house, which Amena by a whimsical effect of chance had made choice of for her sanctuary, was no sooner told her rival was come to speak with her, but she fell into all the raptures that successful malice could inspire. She was already informed of part of this night's adventure, for the cunning Charlot, who by her orders had been a diligent spy on Count Delmont's actions, and as constant an attendant on him as his shadow, she went down to receive her with great civility, mixed with a feigned surprise to see her at such an hour, and in such a déshabillé, which the other answering ingeniously, and freely letting her into the whole secret, not only of her amour, but the coldness she observed in Delmont's behaviour at parting, filled this cruel woman with so exquisite a joy as she was hardly capable of dissembling. This was an introduction to Love in Excess by Eliza Haywood. See the video description for links to the full work. Please don't forget to like this video to support the channel, and hit subscribe for more book previews like this one. Thank you, and happy reading.